It's July 31st, and we're out today putting out stands. We're out on the cattle lease, we'll call it. And if you guys have been following along the channel, you'll know that we had a lot of good success on these cattle properties over the last season, I guess I should say. But we're out today putting up stands, and we should have gotten a better jump start to it because we could barely find stands. Somehow Hunter found some in a store, so we got 4, and we're going to be putting up as many as we can today. It's actually a perfect day to do it because it has just rained, and last week it was like 100 degrees in Iowa here, and it was nasty, and today it's cool. It feels like fall. And so we came in here today to put stands up, and the first location here is this little bottom, and the cows are in here right now, but before season we'll be able to have the farmer pull them out and move them to a different property. So that's why we really like this farm, is we're able to really kind of control where the cows are. And so what we found last year was this little bottom here, and it's just a natural occurring bottom with good clover in it, and we'll show you some clips of it. But what it does, you got the pasture all around, but this is a really nice bottom because for some reason it just keeps growing back a lot more lush down here in this bottom flat. And what we found by hunting this as a hanging hunt, we really found that the deer early season seemed to really hammer this food source early season. But I also think they did it because, as you can tell behind me, the timber is really thick. And so deer are just like people, and they're going to take the path of least resistance. And what I found from trail cameras and hunting it, as the season progressed, this spot was probably the best mid to late October. There was still canopy, it was still thick. And then once I started really honing into this area, the deer gradually started working further into the timber to stay further into the cover, especially the mature bucks. So what we're doing today, this is long-winded, but we really like this clover field for early season. We got really great access because we don't have to cross the path where most of the deer are going to be traveling. And I've got a tree picked out right here to where the deer pop up out of the creek area and out of the thick timber. They usually hit a scrape right here behind me, and it's going to be like 25-30 yard shot max. So hopefully this spot sets up. We've been kind of scouting what we wanted to do here, but this is a really good setup, so let's get to work and show you guys the final results when we get the tree stand up. These stands have some assembly required. They just really want you to get that full experience of putting it all together yourself, so that's what we're doing here. But one thing I didn't mention that was something good, as you can see, we're putting up these more like permanent stands. Now you can move these during season, obviously, but the reason why we were able to really get a good idea of where to put these stands is just due to the sheer fact that last year we hunted this property so mobile. We didn't get the lease till like, what was it, August, September, and by that time we were in elk hunting mode and we didn't have much time to get down here and get everything done. So last year we just really took that mobile approach, hunting off the ground and hunting out of my mobile set, and that's where we really were able to dissect the property and find the best places to put them, because buying a bunch of these stands does get expensive. And so if you can, you know, maximize where you have your stands, then you can save yourself money and be set up to shoot the big ones right out of that tree. What brand of stands do you guys like best? Whatever is cheap, bruh.
Oh yeah.
Whatever my sponsors give me. Sponsors as in our bank account.
Collins Aerospace?
Yeah, Collins Aerospace. This segment is brought to you by Collins Aerospace. Redefining aerospace. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They call these the hanger work pants.
For hanging tree stands?
For hanging tree stands. I never hung tree stands in them until today.
With trimming, could you shoot the crossing? I think they're either gonna right or left, so we just need a, like, left is fine.
Yeah. If they go right though, then we've got to figure out how to get an arrow somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
head cam life. We got it set up so I can shoot right here. This is that clover field we were talking about. There's a scrape at that tree right there, and there's another one right there and that tree. There's a crossing that comes out from the creek. It's kind of, we left the cover there just so we were able to keep some cover. And then I've got a shooting lane, as you can see here. Depending, I can see the deer coming this way, or if a deer ends up running past me too quick, I can stop him for a quartering away shot right in that opening. Now behind me, that's the tree that I hunted most of the time last year, and there's really never deer along this hillside. So there has been a few chances that there are deer, but if there are, when there's no cover here, we can get good shots off at them. But most of the time they're either in the bottom or they're way on top of the hill where you can't get them with a bow. So I think it's a pretty good setup. All we need to do left is put in a permanent lifeline, bow rope, and then we're going to put on the XOP bracket on the other side of the tree so we can run a double set easy without having to spend money on a bunch of sets. So Hunter's climbing up to take care of a couple of these pesky limbs, but I think this is a good spot. As you can see, a lot of areas to shoot. See where it happens. Well, hopefully you can tell, but the stand is set, and I'm not sure if you can hear me well, but this is a small portion that's sectioned off from the cattle. And actually what we found is the deer actually move along up this side here, along the top, and they'll travel it through there because they don't want to go through the creek, and it gets kind of steep there, so it's a gradual spot here. And we actually saw a buck chasing a doe up there sometime in November, and it's been a really productive spot. It's just hard to get in here, and this is kind of a good setup for a south wind, which is good. We kind of set this stand here for a south wind just because this property hunts hard for south winds. So wanted to give us another option, and if we want to hunt this spot on a north wind, you could probably get away with it, to be honest, but you could also just kind of set up. There's a couple trees that I did a hang and hunt in a couple times last year, so this is a nice little spot. It's always cool to find like a small section that the cattle don't touch, and then the deer continue to utilize the property year round. All right, so we just got done hanging the second stand, and we're running out of time today, so we're gonna just kind of figure out where we want to put the next couple stands, and we'll do that tomorrow. But as you can tell here, the farmers don't have cows in it right now. They just baled it. So they're eventually going to put cows in here, but we might actually put a trail camera up over here just to see what's going on for the time being. But we were just talking, and this spot is really hard to hunt just because it is that edge up there that you see is the field edge, or the property edge, the property boundary. So you can't go up there, obviously. And so we got these fingers that we can hunt, and all the deer use this as like a food plot. You can see in here there's clover, chicory, and all that, and it works really well, and deer really hammer in on it. So
my favorite food plot because it's no maintenance. It's just cattle pasture.
Just cattle pasture. And so what we found is the deer always hang out by that big tree, right? So the easiest option would be, can you sit by the big tree? No, because you're never gonna be able to get there, just because of the sheer fact that every time we come in here, no matter what time it is, there's always a deer right here somewhere. And so we're hunter shot. We have a stand up there at the very corner, and it's always out of the action. And so we're gonna move that stand, I'm thinking. And
impossible to get to that.
Yeah, it's always hard to get to because you got to go like all the way up in there. And where Hunter shot his buck is like kind of where that point juts out by that hay bale, which is a good spot. But again, the problem is it's hard to get there without spooking deer, because most of the time there's always deer, especially up in this corner, and so it's hard to get in. So what I'm thinking is can we put something on this lower edge? Because one, I shot the big 8 from right here. He was over there, so it would have been better if I was that way. But when I was during bow season, I've seen countless mature bucks. They'll come out by that tree and then they'll walk right here, and they'll use this like culvert, and this culvert kind of is like the path of least resistance. And we saw that Big 10, that gimpy Big 10, he did it one day in October, and then Heidi saw the Freak Nasty buck do it, or Gimp, one of the two. He came up this way, and you and I saw some bucks do this, like somewhere right here.
That non-typical I filmed a lot in October.
Yep, that buck. So what I'm getting at is I actually hunted that tree right there on a hanging hunt. I don't think I ever published the video, but Spikezilla came out, he worked in behind a doe, and he followed a doe all the way in. And this doesn't look like a spot where the thermals can come into play, but it did, because it was an afternoon hunt. The sun had just gone over the hill, and when you're in a stand, thermals play a bigger factor with deer just because you are higher, so it's going to eventually work down. So Spikezilla was following a doe, and the doe came in to like somewhere in this area, and she hit my thermal and she stopped, and then she walked up in here. She like literally walked up over the edge to see where's this coming from, while he was back there like 30 yards further, and she like, no, I'm not a fan. So she turned and she went back this way. So by that time Spikezilla got nervous, and then he went this way, and they were looking at me because I was exposed. There's no limbs. So ideally, I think if we could get into that tree,
yeah,
that would be ideal, because your thermals are lower. It's always going to pull it down, even on a morning hunt. North wind's going to keep this field perfect.
Yeah, because you set up on this side because of the wind pushing it that way, but when the wind died at night,
it came right
then it
across.
sucked down this creek.
Yep, exactly. Nailed it.
So
this tree I was wanting to try to get into. I just
like
don't know
a nightmare.
how to get in. I have no idea how to get in that tree.
Good cover though. Plus, I've seen deer walk the other side of that fence a lot of times.
Exactly.
Too.
Like, can we figure out a way to get into that tree? That's the question. There's some other ones in there too, but that one's
maybe just tree stubs.
Yeah, because you want to be able to shoot this culvert, because the beginning of October, when we first started hunting this thing, it was every night. I mean, we went and saw that gimpy 10 that next morning. We saw your buck come back through in the morning. You know, it's like
he walked the culvert. Then
he walked the culvert.
Wow.
So it's like this spot is where we need to be, and
which is hilarious because, like, we never bump deer coming in. No idea where they are, but then they just come back from somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where they go, because this is exactly where you walk in. Like, usually we're like, yeah, let's put switchgrass up because we got to screen our entry and access. And then it's like this property, we like literally walk, and then sun comes up and a mature 170 and 160 inch deer walked right behind you. It's crazy.
I don't know where they come from.
Yeah, I don't know where they go. There's no food either.
Good.
Yeah. Well, we came back out this morning and we tried to hang the stand that we were talking about yesterday. Didn't even attempt the really bad tree, but tried a different one, and it was still leaning too bad for the sticks. So we gave up on it. We're gonna have to get some individual link sticks for it, but we did get one hung, and this is actually a sweet spot. This is probably one that I'm most excited about, because right on that clump of trees over there is where I shot my biggest buck ever, and it just seemed like a lot of the bucks came out. When they came out to feed in this clover cattle pasture, they would all congregate in this corner. So we're gonna put a scrape tree out, or a licking stick, in front of this stand about 20 yards, and it should draw them right in. So we were able to get it in this. It's not very high up off the ground, but I mean, hell, I killed a big buck on the ground last year, so it actually has a lot of cover. It's a shingle oak, so it should hold its leaves pretty well, and it's got a lot of limbs going out, so I think we'll be able to get away with it. We put a pretty small stand in there. And the other thing that you want to think about is try to get as much of your silhouette to be blocked by the trees as you can. So try to have like the big trunk or big leaves behind you. It's not so much as important as what's in front of you, but what's behind you to break up your silhouette, because that's what the deer pick out. So with that, and we'll probably wear our leafy suits up there, we should be good to go. And it's a pretty sweet spot, so kind of a bear to get it in the tree, but that's how it always goes. But anyway, pretty happy with what we got done this weekend. Didn't get all of them hung, but we'll have to come back down and finish up the work. But
make sure you stay tuned, follow along, and season's right around the corner, so make sure you're getting ready, and good luck this fall.